If you had a magic wand, what would you choose? Who would you be if you weren't doing that, being that? What would that look like? Again, it's about getting in touch. It's not about buying, oh my God. It's about, oh, okay. So what's working for me and what isn't working for me? For many, many, many people, they've had that role.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one that people come and talk to. I'm the one that holds the beacon of the house. I am the one, no, I am. But who are you being? Are you willing to give that up?
Hello and welcome. Kate Champion here. I am so excited to share this beautiful, powerful, honestly life-changing conversation with you today. Today we are talking to Susan Lazar Hart, and we're taking a deep dive into the importance of self-awareness and intentional living, particularly in midlife and beyond. Susan's superpower lies in the ability to help people develop transformational mindsets so we can begin creating intentional lives that we love. Susan starts by sharing a little bit about her personal story, and then she jumps right in by asking us to consider a couple of questions. Who are we really? What have we learned? And what's serving us and what is not serving us? Susan talks about the importance of learning to align with our personal truth and then having the heart or the courage to make the choices that truly resonate with our purpose. Susan helps us work with shame, blame, guilt, and regret. And she tells us how we can begin to start being the explorers of our own lives. This episode is packed full of profound questions and sage advice that we can all begin using today. Honestly, there is so much packed into this episode. Susan is so generous with her time, wisdom, and energy. And as a lifelong learner, I particularly appreciated the questions Susan asks. Questions are so important. They help us reflect and increase awareness, vital if we really want to create intentional lives. And as you know, this is exactly what the show is all about, helping you create a longer, stronger, more intentional life. So as you listen today, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. Remember, you can find this episode and more on YouTube with video. YouTube is a great place to leave your questions, comments, and suggestions for future guests and topics. And exciting news, this month we are launching our free, fast, virtual mindfulness event. So check out the show notes for links and other resources. And whether you are listening for the first time or a regular, please know I appreciate you, I support you, and I thank you so much for listening today. Okay, my friends, here's Susan. Hello and welcome, Susan, to the podcast today. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm laughing because we had a little bit of some technical stuff getting on today, but I'm really excited to connect with Susan today and share this. I think it's going to be a really heartfelt, very interesting, helpful, important conversation. So welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited too about where we're going to go today.
Yeah, so let's start with you. Right? I want to hear a little bit about you, your journey, your story, how you got to doing what you're doing today.
Well, I have many stories. Most people come on with a hero story. I was doing this and then this happened to me and all of a sudden the clouds opened up and I was reborn. No. uh-uh. Like many of your listeners, I always knew I was different. I always questioned, what is this all about? Like it never made sense to me, whether I was a little child, um, drawing pictures with chalk on the sidewalk, watching the ants go by, whether I was in my preteens where I was told I have mental issues and I was put in a special class for high school, whether I was in Philadelphia College of Art and the teacher said to me, forget it, you just leave, you're never going to be able to draw. Whether I was, we all have these transitional moments where we're challenged with someone else's point of view about who we are and what we are. And from a very young age, I always knew that, oh, that information's not about me. It's about them.
Mm,
So with that in mind, as I grew to be a professional painter and printmaker, and my stuff was in galleries and I was working, I created heavy metal poisoning. Now, this on top of the going to school for 10 years with my kids, raising my kids, getting a master's in painting. And here I was finally, okay, this is me, right? Oh, I was a mom for a while. I was a this for a while. I'm a that for a while. And this is always what I wanted to do. And all of a sudden, there I'm lying in bed with heavy metal poisoning saying, oh, crap. Well, if I'm not a this, or this, who am I? Because we were all brought up in that reality that says you have to be a something. You know, from the moment you're born, you're told, oh, you have your mother's eyes, you have your father's disposition, right?
yeah.
You're never you. You're always something. You know, you are my daughter, you are my son, you are my student, whatever that is. Nobody ever takes and embraces you as you. And so lying there in bed, I was introduced to all kinds of information. What is I am? What does I am mean? Like I knew about meditation, but I was pretty cool about it. I never really, I didn't get into anything. And so I started looking and listening and studying, and oh, there's much more to me than I had even known was there. And so I started uh, studying quantum energies. I took a hands-on energy healing. I worked with that for about 10 or 11 years. I went back to university and got certification in nonviolent uh, uh, beingness, in coaching and counseling. And it just kept expanding out. I mean, even today, I just finished listening to the surrender experiment, and because there's always more to learn. And so when I say, when people say, what's your story, I'll ask, well, which one do you want? Right? Because at the age of 72, there are many stories, there are many journeys, and the juiciest part of all this is it all leads you back to you,
Mm,
because we've been taught in this reality, the answer's out there, but it's not. And that's the wonderful part about being in midlife, because midlife is wherever you are in the middle of your life, right?
mm,
Like, so it's really about, oh, does this is what I'm doing, is who I'm being, is how I'm being, is it resonating with the joy that's deep within me, with what I came here to be and do? Because I call this Earth School. We're an infinite spark that chose a body to be here right now in Earth School. And there are going to be, as Esther Hicks says, those contrasts. And there are going to be, as the Buddha says, the places in the middle that are meant for us to just, oh, that's mine. That's nobody else put that bump in the road. I did. And so let's be present with it. And I love what I do. I love
mm,
working with people. Where I am now is the joy that I have in guiding women midlife and beyond to who they truly be. Because that now is the time in our reality. And if not now, when? And I say that on many, many, many different levels. The planet's changing, the culture is changing. What who who did you come here to be? And if it's not working for you, if it doesn't light you up, you've got choice. That's we are the species on the planet that has choice.
yeah.
And it's not about, we're taught in this reality, and I say this reality is this third dimensional reality. We're taught that we're supposed to be befuddled by our choices, that we're supposed to check in with how other people think and feel about our choices. The bottom line is this is your reality, it's your lens, right? How do you want to see it? And it's about really coming home to you every day in every way.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. There's so much there. I just want to take a breath and kind of breathe all that in for a moment because there's just so much there. I mean, there's so much wisdom and so much truth. I mean, I loved what you said about we have many journeys, right? And if we're honored enough to live and to
50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. I mean, by that point, we have had so many journeys, right?
Yeah.
Been so many different things, different identities, different personalities, different roles and different responsibilities. And, at this point in kind of mid to later life, I truly believe it is an opportunity for people to bloom and blossom and thrive. And that's a very different message that we get from kind of culture in general. Um, and I hate to be gender specific, but especially for women, right? When you look at the differences between what kind of men do later in life versus what women, there's a very different energy. And I just want to break that. I just want to shatter that. I just want to really be a bigger, more powerful voice for being stronger and more intentional and thriving in later life. And for me, again, that is about living intentionally, right? It's like, what do I want? What are my values? What's important to me? That's so powerful, so true.
Well, there's something you said, and I want to kind of dive into that for a minute, which we have to be aware that we don't get gender specific, in that when we rise, we rise together. And so I say I work with women in midlife. I
Mm,
in this choice in what I'm choosing now, I am choosing woman, and I am in midlife. And so I talk to what I know. And so where we are going as a humanity
mm,
is to really open up that space of inclusivity within ourselves, right? Within ourselves, because
hmm
that's where the revolution starts.
hmm
It's not, it starts within us. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's kind of what you're doing, right? You're really helping people kind of see that
Yeah.
there's possibilities, there's choice, there's differences, that you can have agency, right, over the big things and over the small things, right? The everyday things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
There's that wonderful saying, whatever you put your attention on grows. And so I would suggest to people, just start by noticing what you notice. Does it work for you? Yes or no? How are you aligning with it? Are you or not? If you're not, and you're asking to change something, what's your first step? Because
yeah,
change begins from within.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in a little bit.
Sure.
A line I read recently that came from you really resonated. It says, it's you help people create lives that we love living,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk about that, because I love that, because I do believe we, again, back to choice, right? We can choose to create lives, and we can choose to follow energy, kind of give and receive, attract and give off energy in a way that can be helpful or it can be harmful, right? So tell me a little bit about that. How do you help people create lives that they love?
Well, the first question I might ask is, what do you love? What do you love? What do you want? And for most people, they don't have an answer for that.
Mm,
Or they pick something they've decided will give them the joy, will give them the warm, heart-centered feelings they're asking for. And so when we ask, what would you love? Again, that's something we're not asked as a little child. As a little child, you're told, you will love this. I made it for you.
yeah.
I bought this. You will love this. Trust me, you will love this. So you're not invited as a little being to say, this is what I prefer. This is what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, they'll say, oh, no, no, we can't afford that. We don't have the time for that. This is not the time for that. When you're older or you're too old, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And so really the gift would be in asking people, are you willing to listen? Listen to what your heart desires. Are you really willing to listen? And then, generally I'll have people just write down, no matter how silly, what would I love? Just write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down. And then the second column, I would suggest write down why you're not choosing it right now. What's holding?
Mm,
And then
mm.
in the third column, I would have you pick which one of these really resonates with who I'm asking to be in the world. And that's where we would begin.
Those are powerful questions,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially the question about the barriers, right? Why am I not choosing more things that light me up, right? Why am I not choosing things that really kind of put a big smile on my face or just make me feel like this, just excited and energized? Yeah, why? What's the block? What are the barriers? What do you think about that? What do you think are some of the barriers and blocks for people?
Yeah. Great question. Again, it all starts with 0 to 7.
Mm,
And, where we're a vessel, where nobody asks you, what would you love? Where you come and say, I'd like to do this. And they're like, no. We
mm,
learn to mimic the emotions, thoughts, and beliefs of those who are taking care of us. Very quickly, you learn how to make that caretaker smile, how to give them what they want from you so they feel good about raising you. See how complicated that is? But it,
so complex,
but it's
right?
really,
So
it's really
complex.
actually simple. What it does is it has you hiding you behind. And so as you grow into different years, different stages, you bring that thought, feeling, and belief system with you. Oh, I better not show who I am because this teacher, boss, partner, lover might not like who I truly be. Because in holding that behind you, there's somewhere where you bought that you are wrongness.
Mm,
And so,
yeah.
and that's why I say pick one thing, right? Pick one thing
Mm,
that would bring you joy. What
yeah.
would it be? No matter how crazy. And that's why I say write it all down, no matter how crazy. Yeah. Give
Yeah.
yourself permission to just like it's like I have this image of, the way a dog will pick its nose up and just sniff the air when there's something good around, like something juicy. Well, that's us. Pick your nose up. Have a
Mm.
sniff. Have a sniff at your life.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So what's coming up for me is curiosity, right? How can we develop more curiosity about again what lights us up, what we're interested in, what's coming up internally, right? What are we thinking, feeling? How's our nervous system, how's our body responding to these things that we're trying, right? Um, I think curiosity is huge here too. Yeah, huge. And play, right? And
Very,
play.
very much so. Very much so. That's, there's a new book out that for teenagers called The Anxious Generation.
Mhm.
And it's really about how this whole generation of humans has been brought up with their nose in a phone or a tablet. And a lot of these beings have lost the awareness of the joy of play, of being present over perfect. And so, what I encourage people to do is here's something really silly. Take a jar, decorate it, put in everything you'd love to do in that jar and pull one
Mm,
out. Pull one out once in a while and say, oh, does this still resonate with me?
yeah,
What would that be like to go for a walk in the snow today? And are you willing to honor yourself by committing to one step at a time?
yeah.
Because it's called constant space repetition. The same way that we were entrained by constant space repetition of people telling us who we were, what we were, when we should eat, how we should eat, what we should wear, who we should be kind to, who we should ignore, by constantly hearing that information, you can change that with your own sense of constant space repetition. So you can say, hey, I'm the kind of person that honors my word to myself. I go for a walk every morning,
Mm,
right? I'm the kind of person that writes in my journal every morning. Good for me. Right? I'm the kind of person that honors what I say I'm going to do today.
Mm.
And with gratitude and appreciation. That, a lot of people have a gratitude journal at the end of the day. Why? It's constant spaced repetition. So you repeat that practice, and when you go back and look at it, you're like, okay, cool.
Mm.
It,
Mm.
it's how do you change a bad habit with a good one? And
Yeah.
so but that's a gift to give yourself. That's a choice. And we've been taught to hold on to our stories. They have value. Like, oh my God, what happened to you? I can't believe, oh, that's so terrible. Tell me more about it. When I had heavy metal poisoning and after I got through with it, people would come up to me and say, how are you? And I'd be like, great, fine. No, 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 but how are you? And
Mm.
I can't talk, my body's listening because they wanted to hear the story.
Yeah.
But my
Yeah.
body's listening. Why would I do that to my body?
Yeah.
Right? I want
Yeah.
to be in, and that's also part of the understanding of what we're talking about is we are not fragmented. We are connected. So when you step into the joy of, oh, good for me, I tried that. All right, it didn't work out the way I thought, but good. I'm going to give myself kudos for that. Right? I tried it, or I shook somebody's hand, or I went out of the house, or whatever that is. When you feel that, do you feel, as even we're having this conversation, those good feeling chemicals going through the body? And so you're expanding, you're tapping into your heart.
Mm-hmm.
This reality has you writing out everything that you can't do, that is wrong, that all of that stuff, and why you need to take this course, and this course to in 6 sessions or less. That's you have a whole lifetime, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I just see you. I'm just kind of observing you, maybe kind of soaking you up. I mean, you're glowing and you're thriving, and you have this beautiful smile. There's a lot of peace kind of around your energy. And just wondering what are you connecting with right now as you share this and help me learn and help the listeners learn. What's coming up for you?
I'm speaking from my heart,
Mm.
and what I share with you is what I share with myself,
Mm.
so that if I wake up, um, and I check in, right, with what I'm waking up with. Who am I waking up with? Whose emotions are those? And okay, listen to your breath. Just listen to your breath. Okay. And knowing with full responsibility that how I begin my day is how my day begins. And so I can lean back into my morning and say, good for me. I ask my guides, what is it you're asking me today? That's an honoring of me. And so, it's coming from your heart.
Mm.
Our heart is the very first organ that's created, and it's the very last one as we leave this planet.
Yeah.
We're all connected. Our
Yeah.
hearts are connected. Our hearts beat to the beat of the earth, the planet. Once we start understanding that,
Mm.
we go through this individuality as teenagers. The I am a this, or I am not this. Once we get through the hustle and the bustle of the 20s and the 30s, there's an awareness that is just begging us to come and play in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And it's more like, oh, you can't choose anything wrong. Just choose.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. You can't
Yeah.
choose any that right. There's no mistake, right? You can't choose anything wrong. You can't, there's really no failure, right? There's just kind of learning, right? Learning and discovering.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I work with women, right, in this age, my age, I'm 60, 60, 65, etc. And there's so much transition. I mean, not only kind of mentally and physically, but also in their lives, right? Children are out, maybe they got grandchildren, multi-generations, looking, caring for older parents,
Yeah.
stuff they haven't dealt with, frankly, right? Stuff they haven't really had time to deal with. Um, so and this isn't a judgment, but just this awareness of just so stuck, right? You feel so stuck.
Mm.
And with stories about kind of responsibility and I can't do that because I feel guilty or this is selfish or right when you spent maybe so many decades caring for others kind of out there and not much time caring for kind of in here. I mean, how would you coach somebody with that? Like taking some baby steps, like how would you help somebody kind of work through those layers, right?
Well,
Lose the guilt. Yeah, go ahead.
um, it's
First
called
of all, are you hearing me? Do you resonate with that? Is that something?
absolutely, absolutely,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely, yes. And it's called compassion.
Mm,
So compassion is something, again, we weren't taught. We were taught to be compassionate for those who have less than us. We were taught, whether you were brought up in an environment where there's a religion or a government or something that is telling you what to be compassionate about, but we're never taught to show compassion for ourselves.
mm,
And so one of the things that I guide people in is taking them back to that first time when they felt that emotion. How old were you? Let's bring that child out, and then let's ask some questions. How are you feeling? And it's about getting in touch and then showing that child compassion.
mm.
So for instance, I was raised in a very creative household and very judgmental. So every time I hear myself judging myself, I'll turn to myself and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you were taught to judge."
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right? You feel that? It's like, "Oh, so I'm not nailing myself to the wall, nor am I nailing that person who did the best they could with the tools they had." But again, the way of the world is compassion, right?
Mm,
When you start to learn the softness, the joy of being compassionate with yourself, you then have less judgment for everything and everyone else. Now, as long as you know who taught you to hold on to your stories. I'm so sorry you were taught to hold on to your stories. I'm so sorry you were taught that that story is more real than your joy of being you. And so it's a huge thing. Again,
mm,
it ties in with what we were talking about earlier. People just want to be heard.
mhm,
They want to be heard. And that inner voice that is total strength, is willing to listen to you, the outer voice, and say, "I hear you. I acknowledge you. I'm so sorry that nobody held you when you were little. I'm so sorry you were taught this was more important than giving you a hug. I'm so sorry you felt alone. I'm so sorry you felt lonely. I'm so sorry you felt unheard." And it's about reaching back to that younger you,
mm.
bring them forward with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's about intentionality, right? It's about you use the word choices. It's about every day. What's one small choice I can make for me, right? What's one small choice, even if your life is chaotic and it's falling apart and there's stuff coming at you, and there's still space within that to take that breath, right, and get grounded and say, okay, what's one thing that's important for me today?
And I would also ask, is it really true?
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, again, it's, oh, my life, it's chaotic. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do that. Is that really true? So my question would be, well, who would you be what else could you choose? If you had a magic wand, what would you choose? Who would you be if you weren't doing that, being that? What would that look like? Again, it's about getting in touch. It's not about buying, oh my God, It's about, oh, okay. So what's working for me and what isn't working for me? For many, many, many people, they've had that role of
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one that people come and talk to. I'm the one that holds the beacon of the house. I am the one, no, I am. But who are you being? Are you willing to give that up?
The chances are you're listening today because, like me, you are passionate about creating a longer, stronger, more intentional life. Did you know there's a great way to take one more step towards that goal? By signing up for Living Big Mindfully's community news. Why sign up? Well, you'll get the convenience of receiving new podcast episodes delivered straight into your inbox. You'll be the first to hear about offers, retreats, and community events. For example, have you heard or attended our free virtual monthly mindfulness event? Plus, as a therapist and women's health advocate, I want to share all the amazing things I am learning, from the latest in muscle health to brain health to fitness and well-being, all things I incorporate into my everyday life. So basically, by signing up, you're getting all the tools, support, and encouragement you need to thrive, get, and stay stronger for longer. So how do you sign up? It's easy. Head over to katechampionauthor.com, click the community news link, and get connected today. Oh, and just so you know, it is completely free. We never share your information, and you can unsubscribe at any time. So please take this one step for yourself. Go to katechampionauthor.com and sign up today. I cannot wait to start sharing all this good stuff with you. Now, let's get back to the show.
That's
Right?
a big question, right?
Are you willing to give that martyrdom, that victimization, that role model up? Because
Yeah.
we can do it all. It's just choice. Do you want to do it all? What does that look like for you? Who else can you get to come and assist you? What does that look like for you? And are you nurturing you?
Mm,
Right? Like when my kids were little, I would get up at 6:30 and go down to the local Y and do laps in the pool.
mm,
And I'd come back 20 minutes. I'd come back and the older ones get them ready for school and the younger ones pop them out of bed or whatever it was. It's all doable. It's you have to really want it.
mm.
And we've been taught that what's wrong with us is much larger than what we truly desire. But what if there was nothing wrong with you? What if it was just like, oh, interesting choice. Now what could I create? Again, I'm so sorry you were taught to judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So sorry you were taught to judge. So sorry you were taught to have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility or guilt or all the rest of it. Yeah.
The thing is, guilt isn't real. You can't buy it at the grocery store.
Guilt's a fascinating subject. I'm still
It's,
trying to figure that out for
it's
myself because
not
again,
real.
working.
It's not
So
real. It's a
so
story.
say more about that. Guilt is not
It's
real.
it's
Say
not
more.
it's not real. It's a story. Uh, I remember a cousin of mine saying something to me. My dad had Alzheimer's, and she said, well, "Don't you visit him every week?" And I'm like, "No." I said, "I'll go when it lights me up, when it brings me joy. I might bring lunch." And she said, "Oh." And she started to tell me what I should be doing. And I just laughed and I said, "I'm sorry, guilt is not in my resume. I don't do guilt." Again, guilt is who are you being? Who are you being? Like, who in your family taught you that this was valuable, that you're not valuable enough, that this was valuable enough, this thought, feeling, or emotion was valuable enough to hold you back from being you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's that simple. It's not real. Blame, shame, regret, guilt. Those are all, I forget who it was that wrote the map of consciousness.
Mm,
But in the layers and levels, those are all the lowest forms of energy.
mm, mm.
And how do you control people? Keeping them in the lowest forms of energy. right? So it's not real. You could ask, who does that belong to? Where did I buy that is real and true?
Yeah.
I used to think there was something wrong with me because I never bought any of that as real and true. And I'm like, oh, I just came here to make a difference. Okay, cool.
Mm. Yeah. No guilt needed, right? No guilt needed.
It's what it again, blame, shame, regret, guilt, doubt. They're all created. You're entrained to them so you can be controlled. It's all it is. They're
Mm.
not real. And
That
and people
that is a powerful statement, right? So I'm going to pause and I'm going to say that again. So make sure I'm hearing you. So blame, shame, kind of judgment, guilt, all things designed, engineered to control
yeah,
you,
yeah.
control the individual, control the kid, control whatever.
Someone had to align with it in order for you to agree it's real. I remember
Yeah.
somebody saying, you should be ashamed. I'm like, okay. My father would get upset when we spilt milk at the table.
Mm.
And I remember working in Norway. I hitchhiked around the world, one of my stories. And I was working for an apple farmer in Norway in the Hardanger Valley. And the that night that one of them spilt the milk and my whole being contracted. I was ready to hear, you're so stupid. What did you do that for? And they burst out laughing. And it was at that moment, I think I was 19, that I realized, oh, there's another way to be with this. So
Yeah.
it's the willingness to listen, to watch, to check in with yourself. Does this emotion work for me? I always
Yeah.
knew it never made sense. It was just milk. But when I saw this couple, the farmer and his wife laugh, I it just opened my world up.
Oh, so powerful.
So powerful. There's another way to be with this.
Um,
If it
yeah.
does, if it doesn't work for you, it's not you. It's that simple. It's not who you be.
Hmm. These are things, right, that you kind of soaked up, right? Stories, beliefs that you've kind of soaked up, but like you said, they are not yours. And
Yeah,
I love that question, right, that you asked, how, if you can catch the sense of guilt or shame or whatever, okay, how true is that, right? How how true is this really right now, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
love that.
And if it isn't true, what's another way to be with all this?
Right.
Yeah. Be be the explorer of your own life.
Mm.
Set out where no one has gone before.
Well, you are unique, right? We're all unique. We are all unexplored, uncharted territory, right?
Absolutely. I always say we're like flowers in a garden. You walk past a garden and you say, "Oh, look, pretty garden flowers." But if you stop and you look at the garden, you'll see there's nightshades, there's morning growers, there's some that require sun and dry, and there's other that require moist and shade, and some that come in the fall and spring and summer, and there's even winter flowers that come up through the snow. We're all unique. We are flowers in this garden of planet Earth and universe,
Mm,
and we came here to bloom.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's really what we're trying to get across, right? Is these later in life years, again, the 50s, 60s, 70s, is the time to reclaim,
yeah,
re-look at your garden, check the seed quality, right? And what do you want for the next 30 years, right? What do you want for this next chapter? It's so important, so
yeah.
important.
And even for myself, I'll go 20 years from now, and I'm like, no, go a year from now.
Mm,
There's certain things that I said to myself last year. If this is continuing into 2025, we're going to let this go in my business.
mm,
We're going to let that go. We're going to let this go. And now it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. So, how do I want to see myself 12 months from now? What do I want to see occurring? What do I want to let go of? What do I want to investigate about myself that I've been putting to the side? And it's not about going down a rabbit hole, it's about celebrating. what works and what doesn't work. And I'll have more of that. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually love that kind of time frame because even in my language I was thinking 20 years, 30 years, but really what if you don't have 20 or 30 years. I love that shorter time frame, right? Okay, so the next 12 months, because at any age you could imagine you can have the next 12 months, right? You can
Yep.
imagine that could be true. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's 2026. We're talking now in 2025. It's 2026.
Mm-hmm.
It's December. You're looking back over the last year. What is it you're most proud of?
Yeah.
Now, how do you make that happen?
Yeah.
How do you be that? Is that
Mm-hmm.
really you would like, or what you think somebody else would like of you or from you or with you? All important things. I remember when I was in that sandwich generation, my mom was alive, my dad was alive, and I was like really having cross generational things going on with my mom and myself. And I saw this little note in the paper that said, are you in a sandwich generation? And I'm like, let me just investigate this. And it was just this one woman who talked for like 4 or 5 sessions at the bottom of the hill, and she rented a space in the church to talk about it. And what I got out of the whole thing was, if you can't be there with love, don't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another big aha moment. Like, that's so cool. So forget the resentment, forget the blame, the shame,
The guilt.
the
Yeah.
guilt, blah, blah, blah. And so
Yeah.
my studio at that point was just down the hill from where my mom was living in an apartment. And my kids are all grown. I don't have to be home at a certain time. And I would go up the street, and before I took a left to check in on her, I would ask myself, what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
If I was looking for mothering, I would drive home.
Mm.
If I was honestly looking to check in on her with an open heart, then I would take a left, park the car, and check in on her.
Wow. Talk about intentional, right?
Yeah.
Talk about like
Yeah.
really going inside and asking that question, what do I really want here?
Yeah.
That's again really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when, that question you asked earlier about women who are holding on to their stories, there's a cross intention there, right? Whenever we hold on to a story, it's because we want to be right about being wronged.
Mm,
And so if we let that go, who am I? It always comes back to who I am. Who am I being for me?
yeah. Who am I without that? What I call like internal kind of friction, right? Because we've got this story,
Yeah.
and I think on some level we have the intuition of kind of who we really are, right? And sometimes there's an internal kind of conflict with that. Those two things conflict on some level, right? So then I again coming back to check in on that, right? Saying, oh, it's the story that's leading the show, really, but not really
Yeah.
what where my heart is, right? Or where my
Yeah.
soul is, or yeah, and seeing the difference, because there's a big difference between those two things.
And there is, and none of us can do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
We
So tell
can't.
me more about that. Tell me more about
Well,
that.
we're the only species on the planet that thinks we can do something alone.
Mm,
Right? Every other species has a community.
mm,
But we've been raised on that, that ego-centered, I can do this. I don't need your help. Rather than, who can I ask to assist me here?
mm.
What else do I need to add to this in order for the growth? Is it a mentor? Is it a coach? Is it in many, 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 many years ago, we lived in a multi-generational family. And so you didn't have to go out looking for someone to listen to you, to give you advice, whatever that is. Now we're living all alone and
Mm.
crave that humanness. And so start by asking, okay, what help do I need here?
Mm,
How can I create a fuller life for myself by becoming part of a community of people, of like-minded people?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, you used a term earlier, right? People where we're all lifting everybody up,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yeah.
There's a higher, another word of yours, a higher vibration, right? There's a different energy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
hard to find. Is that hard to find? Is that, where do you go? Where do you get that? Like, tell me where you go find that.
Again, it's things are only hard to find if you decide they're hard to find.
Okay.
Like, Greg Braden,
Yeah.
or and when he talks about energy,
Yeah.
right? Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about energy. What
hmm
Whatever you put your attention on grows. And
Yeah.
those you will get back whatever it is that you're putting your attention on. So what if it wasn't hard? What if you asked your guides to go out? Could you go out and find me like-minded people and bring them back in? And are you willing to receive them, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it takes?
Love that.
Right?
And
And
yeah.
it's gonna look different. It's gonna be different. And again, it's so important right now where we are, whatever that means in the space of time and the universe and the
Evolution, right? The
yes,
evolution.
the
Yes.
collective
Yes.
consciousness, and
Yes.
that we dive into our humanness.
Mm,
We are made to taste, touch, sound, hold. When they say when you hug someone, it changes your chemical, right?
mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm,
just we are made. That's who we are. To ignore that is to kill that part of you that is so unique.
mm-hmm,
And so it's really about, what do I need,
mm-hmm.
and go out, whatever that is, whether it's just putting your face in the sun in the early morning, whether it's watching a sunset, whatever that is, whether it's taking chalk or drawing or listening to music, putting on something and just moving your body and dancing, whether it's volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting part of my life. I Once a week I would go to a homeless shelter in Montreal for women, and I would teach art. And when I started doing that, all of a sudden my work started being in galleries,
Mm,
right? So, and started being collected. So it's when you start giving of yourself, the universe is like, yeah, let's play. I can play with this.
yeah.
And it's that reciprocal energy that happens when you're truly being compassionate with yourself and opening up that ripple that creates a difference in the lives of you and everyone you come in touch with.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because to say nothing changes, well, we know that's not true.
Not true.
That's not true. And what was it Einstein said, to expect change when you do the same thing every day? Well, the truth is, you're not doing the same thing every day. You're pushing yourself into not listening to what your heart desires. And what if you opened that up? What if
Yeah.
you just put your hand on your heart, took a breath, and tapped in and tapped in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I'm just feeling, I don't know, so much kind of peace and kind of groundedness and just such a kind of heart-centered space, which is beautiful. So thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So covered so much,
Yeah.
so much. Is there anything else you feel like is important or you'd like to add or share today?
Uh, yeah, I would say give yourself the gift of just ask the question, write it down. I'm a big believer in writing down, because it comes, your body is moving, your chemicals are moving. It's different than tapping it out on a computer or a phone. Write it down and ask yourself, what would bring me joy today?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And and that's self-care.
Yes.
What would bring me joy today? It could be acknowledging something about yourself.
Mm.
It could be throwing one thing out,
Mm-hmm.
right? I did when I was doing my certification in coaching, we had accountability buddies, and my buddy and I decided, both of us decided our offices were a mess. And so how could we change that? Well, we would throw one thing out a day, even if it was one piece of paper. And instead of having a conversation, we would just text each other, okay, threw it out, done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the kind of person that can throw one thing out a day, right? It's that what would bring you joy. Start talking to yourself the way you would want others, the way you never were talked to when you were little,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's why, when I came to that corner in the street and I asked myself, do I need mothering today? If I do, I know what I need. I know how to, am I willing to gift myself what it
Mm-hmm.
is that I need? And so what would bring you joy today? And
Mm-hmm.
even when you wake up in the morning, reach over for that book, reach over for that pad or pencil,
Mm-hmm.
and ask, just start to write. Okay, what would bring me joy today? And just write it down and just close the book and be that energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I want to add to that. And they can be tiny things. Like
Oh,
it could
yeah.
be a warm cup of tea in a sunny window, right? It could be going
Yeah.
out and getting my hands in the soil. It could be, I mean, I don't know, it could be brushing the dog. They don't have to be kind of
No.
big, elaborate kind of things. I think that's really important. They can be small and simple, 20 minutes of reading my favorite book, right? Maybe it's paint by numbers. Maybe it's, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but think small, right? Think small. Yeah.
Yes, baby. I'm a big believer in baby steps. For me,
Mhm.
recently, it's soup.
Oh, tell me more about soup.
Well, I love to nurture my body with scents and smells and tastes, and I got some flu bug over the holidays, and the biggest thing that I love for myself is making myself soup.
Mm,
Not it's a no brainer, right? We've been taught cooking it. No, you just throw in some vegetables in a pot, cut them up with a little olive oil, and then I make bone broth from chicken carcasses and all of that, and I throw it in the freezer, take that out, and I'm sitting there eating something that I have made for myself. That gives me all the flavors and everything that I want for myself. If anybody's interested, there's a great book out. It's called Clean Soups, and it's got all kinds of easy peasy recipes for making soup. And in North America, it's soup time, right? We've got
yeah.
snow.
Yes.
You're different because you guys are probably hot, 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 right? But anyway, it's called Clean Soups. I highly recommend it. I'm a big reader,
Hmm.
and readers are leaders. And leaders are readers. And it's something very important for me to know that I on the spectrum of life, there's always something that I can learn. It's not that I have to, but there's something that will, I just listen and I'm like, oh, that book, or
Yeah.
or that course. And
Yes.
again, we are made to create communities, lots of small communities in how we be on the planet, with the
Yeah.
planet. And
Yeah.
it's about acknowledging that brings me joy. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And I also believe that we are also lifelong learners, right?
Yeah.
We're made to, we don't stop learning. I mean,
Yeah.
up until our final breath, right? We are constantly learning.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I mean, I guess for me, that is a joy. That's
Yeah.
important. It's a value. It's
Yeah.
a joy. You know, it's really resonating here. I've just signed up for Wilmington's first aid, and I'm taking a women's health course. So, and it's revitalizing, right? It's
Yeah.
energizing.
Yes.
It's
Yes. Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah.
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 And I'm taking the wilderness first aid course with a bunch of 18-year-olds. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can do that. That will be fun, right? But I want people to be able to have that energy, right?
Yeah.
That it's not too late. Keep learning, keep growing, keep asking yourself these questions. And I think through that, you will create this kind of heartfelt, heart-centered, intentional life, right? Like your language, like creating a life that you love. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you. So my final question is always, so personally, on a personal level, if you could give somebody one piece of sage advice about really living intentionally, what would that be?
Uh, choose you.
Mm, every day, right? For a moment,
Choose you.
is you. Yeah.
Because the thing is, we're influenced to say choose for someone else. Choose you. Right? When people say, well, that seems so selfish. Well, I am myself. So you're saying that's so Susanish. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
And I would add, if that's uncomfortable, right? If it's really uncomfortable to do that, and you come up with a lot of these kind of guilt and shame feelings, right? Then work through that with somebody, right?
Yes.
That is not a truth, right? Those aren't facts, right? So that's a thing, and work through it. Because if you have a hard time choosing you, what is the barrier?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So Susan, oh, I feel so filled up. Thank you. Thank you. Where
Thank
can people
you.
find you if they want to connect or they have
Yep.
questions?
Go to susanlazarhart.com. Easy peasy. You'll find resources, courses I'm giving. I'm giving a masterclass coming up in January 25th. Not sure when this will go live, but I'm always offering something new, something different. And if you go to resources, you'll find my blogs. And you can also contact me anytime. I can't wait to hear from your listeners. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll definitely put links in the show notes, encourage people to reach out. I'll be looking at your blogs and picking up all the gems I can. So Susan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate you and your time. Remember that I do love to hear from listeners, so connect with me at katechampionauthor.com. Grab your free hiking guide, share your favorite episode with a friend, and subscribe to the show. Until next time. Hey, me again. Just a reminder, this podcast should not be considered professional advice. It's also not a substitute for mental, physical, or any other healthcare-related treatment. For any questions about your condition and or concerns, please contact a fully licensed healthcare professional. Thank you.